And I don't know if you listeners are familiar with her, but she was the one who quoted Braveheart when she yelled freedom when the House repealed the ACA. That's Ann Wagner. That's who represents Congressional District 2 in St. Louis. So like I said, it's local, it's state, it's national, it never ends. We're busy here. We're fighters, we're scrappers, we work hard because we have to. We have to on every single level.
This is the MidPod, the Midterms podcast. I'm Nisi Panetta.
And I'm Heather Atwood.
We are two progressive moms traveling America to chronicle what may well be the most important set of elections of our lifetime.
We'll introduce you to the amazing candidates running for Congress and who we think put country over party. And you're invited to the citizens potluck we hold in every district.
There's no doubt our democracy is in trouble. We've got to pay attention and get involved.
Change and reform can happen in a healthy way in this country if we vote in the midterm elections.
So tune in every Tuesday to the MidPod and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, everyone. This is Kelly with Two Broads Talking Politics. In this segment, I am here with Renee Hoagenson, who is running for Congress in Missouri in the 4th District. Hi, Renee.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thanks so much for coming on. Can you start by just telling me a little bit about your background, who you are, and why you're running for Congress now?
Yes, I am a small business owner and a Rotarian and a mom. I have 3 children. I have started 3 businesses, all of which are still successfully operating today. I've sold all of them, the last of which just to run for Congress. Really, it's so demanding. I announced my candidacy on International Women's Day of 2017, March 8th of 2017. So it's been a very long congressional run, but I knew it would have to be to get there.
And so why did you want to run now? Why did you decide that this was the right moment to do that?
Well, I felt very galvanized after the November elections in 16, certainly. It's been something that's been in the back of my mind for a long while. And I considered running a state race, but in my own district, we had just elected a fantastic representative to Jefferson City. And I just started thinking about this particular race and realized that I'm a really good fit for this for many different reasons.
And what are some of those reasons?
Well, I know so many people in the district, having lived here 43 years. And having gone to school here, I was brought up by farmers. I understand what keeps farmers up at night. I understand the challenges that college students face. I understand business owners and their struggles and their goals. Basically, my background reflects a lot of the people that comprise Missouri 4. We're an agricultural community. We're a manufacturing community. We're certainly a business community. We're an education community. There's a whole lot to Missouri 4.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about Missouri 4. So it looks like this was a Democratic district for a very long time until 2010. And I feel like maybe if we can understand what shifted that, we'll understand a lot about Missouri and really a lot of kind of the Midwest, how it shifted from being blue or purple to red. So what is your read on that? What happened in 2010 was a banner year for Republicans winning districts in general, but what do you think explains some of that, and how do you think that you can flip it blue again?
Well, we did have a congressman serving for 35 years, Ike Skelton, who was a strong Democrat, who was very popular across parties. He was popular with everyone. In fact, when I'm talking with people out in the district who identify themselves as Republicans, they'll say, I always voted for Ike, even though he's a Democrat, because he did so much for this district. And he did. He brought a lot of money. He created infrastructure here. He created programs for the military bases. And he was a very effective congressman and widely loved. They've named a bridge after him. But I think that your question about what happened, we elected a Tea Party congresswoman in 2010, Vicki Hartzler. And I think a lot of that, from what I can tell, was people who were unhappy about the ACA. They were unhappy with, quote, Obamacare. and they were unhappy about the way Ike Skelton voted.
And do you think that some of them can be flipped back? What's sort of your strategy for winning this district?
Another thing about the Tea Party message is it certainly had more of a populist message than what Democrats were espousing at the time. And we do have to get back to our roots as a party and really relate that we really are interested in helping people and helping families again. And when you look at who has won these last couple of elections, Sherry Bustos in Illinois 15, she is a great example. She is a woman who was running in a red rural district just like mine and won in 14 and 16 in a landslide. She's one of the only Democrats and certainly one of the only rural Democrats to win in 16. And she did it basically on a message of focusing on workers and wages and healthcare and education and the things that people are concerned about at their own kitchen table. And that's how we're going to win again. And that's what we need to go back to as a party. I remember back, I want to say it was in the early 90s, and my dad looked at me and he said, the Democrats just got in bed with Wall Street, and that's a big mistake. And we do, as a party, need to remember our roots and remember who we are every step of the way and be in integrity with that.
So what are some of the issues that you're running on? What are the issues that are really compelling you to get involved and want to represent the district? And what are the issues that you're hearing about from the constituents as you travel around and talk to them?
Well, I have two main platforms, and one I call house cleaning reforms, which is campaign finance reform, lobbying reform, and redistricting reform. And I believe that when we can make meaningful reform in these areas, we can create a government that serves the people again. We've gotten far afield of that. The other is fixing the foundation for families. We've got to raise wages. There is just no way around that. Anyone working 40 hours a week should be able to make a living for their family. And people are aggravated and annoyed that people have assistance and food stamps. And we need to create an environment where people don't need food stamps. If people are making a living working 40 hours, then we don't have people living in fear. We don't have people going out working 60 hours and leaving their kids at home. People need to be able to spend time with their children in order to raise them again. And we need to stop perpetuating a cycle of dysfunction and poverty in this country and step up and take a role in helping out. Secondly, we need to create a healthcare system where every single person in this country has basic health care. And there are so many ways to do that, and there are very many ways to pay for that. That's always a follow-up question, especially with folks who lean more conservative. We're literally the only industrialized country in the world that does not provide health care for their citizens. And when you consider the fact that we all agree that every person fundamentally deserves a quality education, I would submit that healthcare is an even more basic right than education. Education brings me to my third point. We need to ensure a fully funded education system, both pre-K through 12 and higher ed and trade schools. We need to ensure that our folks have everything that they need. Our children have everything that they need to be successful in the world. It is important for their future, of course, but it's also important for the future of our country. And secondarily, those are major employers in our rural communities, which are struggling and suffering. We need to ensure that those fundamental cornerstones of educational institution in each of our counties is funded in a way that can provide great outcomes. We need to invest in rural America again, and our government has not been focused on rural America for a very long time.
I want to go back for a minute to campaign finance reform. The incumbent that you're challenging, like most Republican incumbents, has a lot of money, is able to raise quite a lot of money. But you've actually raised a significant amount of money yourself as well. Can you talk about how important or unimportant money is in political races and what you see as sort of how we can get past this really huge sums of money from corporate PACs and that sort of thing, and what you'd like to see with campaign finance reform?
In my own campaign, we have just hit the $200,000 milestone which is really significant considering we started at zero. We have had individual donations. All of this money has come from individual donors. We have over 2,200 different donors. And to me, that is just a phenomenal amount of grassroots support. It really demonstrates the viability of the campaign, and it really demonstrates the buy-in of the people and how much people want something different than what we have. And fundamentally, we need to overturn Citizens United. How we get there, again, can look many different ways, but I think it's clear that we're going to ultimately need a constitutional amendment in this area in order to get the money out of politics. I would like to see a level playing field for all candidates, and that way everyone has an equal voice. In my race in particular, we have 5 times as many donors as my Tea Party opponent, but she has 5 times as much money because of the PACs. She's got Koch money, she's got NRA money, and she's got a lot of really big donors. Most of her donors are folks who can max out on her and donate the maximum allowed contribution for an individual. Most of my donors, my average donation is $60. So it just shows you the difference. And where it's going to make a difference is in October. My opponent will have all the money that she needs to get her message out as loudly as she would like to. What I'm depending on, and why I started so early, is the grassroots support. I am dependent on people helping me spread the message, helping me get my name out there. And my hope is that enough people will know me beforehand and going into October so that whatever messaging she puts out, whether it's to promote her agenda or against me in whatever form that might take, people will already know who I am, know what I'm about, and have already decided to vote for me. One of the ways that I'm marketing myself in the district is through billboards. We have 6 different billboards up, and my goal there is that as many people as possible can at least know my name before they get to the voting booth. So we've got billboards, we've got signage. Of course, we've got part of our district that's really challenged with internet service. And so, again, I need a lot of traditional media. I need as many possible ways as I can get out there. I've done a lot of radio interviews, maybe 30, 35 radio interviews in the last year and a half. Been written up in newspapers, and those are also really important vehicles. We'll do some traditional advertising. We're working on our commercial right now, which we will use online as well as in traditional media. Of course, online and social media are also really important. We have 4,000 Facebook fans. We're doing everything we can to cover as many vehicles as we can, with as little money as we can.
Looks like you have a fairly grueling event schedule, too, of doing town halls and festivals. It's a good season coming up for things like going to festivals and fairs and stuff.
Yes, I have a fantastic team, and they keep me very, very busy, which is exactly what I want. I need to meet as many people as I possibly can. We've already gone through about 15,000 pieces of literature of me or someone on the campaign handing the literature out person to person. And, of course, we will continue to do that. They keep me very busy. Each weekend I've got an average of 7 events, and the campaign covers several more without me just because I physically can't be everywhere. But I definitely have someone dedicated to making sure that I'm busy and to making sure that I can physically meet the schedule and the commitments that we put out. And of course, she coordinates all of that with, it's a 30-hour a week job just to schedule me. It's amazing. And I'm so grateful. I have a really spectacular team of folks, and also hundreds of volunteers as well who are, again, willing to give up their time, willing to donate everywhere they can. And we've got a lot of momentum, and I believe we're going to drive this train straight to D.C.
I wanted to ask you, too, you are a single mom, as you mentioned, with 3 kids. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to run for office as a mom? There aren't a ton of moms in Congress, of course, because there aren't a lot of women in Congress in general. And how being a mom shapes a little bit about what issues you think are really important to Americans and to Missourians.
First of all, do you have children?
I do. I have 2 little boys, a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old.
So you know what it's like. I didn't realize that being a mother was literally like joining a club you didn't know existed until you were in the room with the new baby. It's just amazing, isn't it? I mean, your capacity for love